Hello students, today we will solve more questions based on statistical inference which have came in ISS 2019 paper 2. Your first question is, for estimating the mode of normal distribution, which one of the following is most efficient estimator? See, you all know that normal population is a symmetric population, and for a symmetric population mode equals to population mean. So the problem for finding an estimator for population mean is actually the problem of finding an estimator for a population mode. Both are similar, so here we can find most efficient estimator for population mean as well. So we all know sample mean is good efficient estimator, or we can say most efficient estimator for population mean. uh, what does this efficiency word actually means? Efficiency is directly related to the variance term. If your variance is very much high, then your estimator is very less efficient, and if your variance is very low, then your estimator is much more efficient. We can see variance of sample mean is less than variance of median. It has been discussed by Gupta. It has been discussed in Gupta and Kapoor's book. Variance of x bar equals to sigma square by n, and variance of median equals to pi sigma square by 2n, and this value is actually less than this value. So variance of x bar is less than variance of median implies that x bar is more efficient estimator. But what about rest of these terms? Why not sample mode, and why not largest observation? See, sample mode may be a good efficient estimator, or maybe a most efficient estimator, only when your population from a sampling is going on is highly skewed. It may be positively or negatively, but it has to be highly skewed. Only then your sample mode can be a most efficient estimator, otherwise not. But here normal population is symmetric. It is not a good idea to use sample mode. Now why not largest observation? See, your all observations are coming from real numbers. There is no direct impact of parameter population mean on your largest observation. So there is no direct effect, a mutual effect of largest observation on population mean and population mean on largest observation. So it will be absurd to use a largest observation or any other ordered observation as a most efficient estimator for your parameter. So your correct answer will be sample mean. Now going for second option, it is easy. See, in second option, if you want to check consistency, then one result is useful. If t is an estimator, then as n tends to infinity, expectation of t tends to your parameter, and variance of t tends to your tends to 0. This implies t is consistent for your parameter. Fine. So here your expectation of xi is mu, and we are having finite expectation of xi square. This actually means that your variance is some finite quantity, and since all observations are IID, then we can say it is some sigma square. Now I will prove for only for the correct option, and the rest option can be checked by the same. A and C are directly wrong. You can see, as this I is out of summation. What this I is doing out of summation? There is no meaning of it. So we will check for the correct option, that is option number B. Expectation of 2nn plus 1. Let us write 2nn plus 1 summation I xi. I am doing calculation directly. See, if I move expectation inside the summation, it will be mu. Fine. And 2 mu n plus 1, and here will be summation I and expectation of xi. Then what this summation xi is actually, this is n plus 1 by 2, because this is the sum of n natural numbers, which will be cancelled by 2 and n plus 1, and finally we will get mu. Then variance of the same term will be 4 n square n plus 1 square summation I square, and variance of xi, what we have assumed, it is sigma square, and all covariance terms of this xi and xj will be 0, because our observations are independent. So variance of xi equals to sigma square, and summation of xi equals to n plus 1 2n plus 1 upon 6. Then it will be 2 by 3 sigma square 2n plus 1 upon n plus 1. Now as n tends to infinity, this extra n will make this variance tends to 0. Fine. So by this particular result, t means this t is consistent for mu. Now moving to question number 8, which is very easy. These statements are very common to every statistics students, so these are direct result which we can learn. X bar is an unbiased estimator in case of normal mu sigma square, all observations are IID. X bar is an unbiased estimator, it is correct, because expected value of x bar is equals to mu. I may write it, expected value of x bar equals to mu, and variance of x bar equals to sigma square by n. Is it also consistent? Yes, it is, because as n tends to infinity, this expectation also tends to mu, and this tends to 0. Then x bar is also consistent. Then what about capital S square? This capital S square is root mean square error. So S square can be written as sigma square upon n minus 1 summation xi minus x bar upon sigma whole square. Now this whole summation term is nothing but chi square n minus 1. And then it will be when we will take expectation, it will be expectation of S square, which is sigma square upon n minus 1 multiplied by expectation n minus 1. So finally it is sigma square. Now variance of S square equals to sigma raised to power 4 upon n minus 1 square, which is equal and then variance of this chi square n minus 1 will be 2 n minus 1. Finally it is 2 sigma raised to power 4 n minus 1. So when n tends to infinity, this tends to sigma square, and when n tends to infinity, variance of S square tends to 0. So by the result, S square is consistent for sigma square. So option number, this second statement is also true. Now this third statement is not correct, because expectation of S1 square, then what we can write S1 square in terms of S square? We can write S1 square equals to n minus 1 S square upon n. Fine. Then n minus 1 and n minus 1 upon n is out of expectation, and expectation of S square is sigma square. So it is not equals to sigma square. So S1 square is not an unbiased estimator of sigma square. So this option number third is wrong. So 1 and 2 only. Now question number 9. This is a PDF of gamma lambda by A and lambda, and we need to find MLE for this lambda and alpha. So let us proceed with the general method. This is your likelihood function, and when we will take log of L, then it will be minus log gamma lambda plus n lambda log of lambda minus log of alpha minus lambda upon alpha summation xi. Let me write it as minus lambda upon alpha n x bar. It will be easy to calculate then. Plus lambda minus 1 log of product of xi can be written as summation I1 to n log of xi. Now what we do, lambda log L by d log L by d alpha equals to, differentiating this term with respect to alpha, it will be minus n lambda upon alpha plus lambda n x bar upon alpha square. When we equate it equals to 0, and then lambda upon alpha, n lambda upon alpha is cancelled. We can write it like this. So when we equate x bar upon alpha minus 1 equals to 0, we will get MLE of alpha equals to x bar. Now again d log L upon d lambda equals to minus of n d log gamma lambda upon d of lambda plus we need to do some modifications. See, you can see n lambda log lambda, keep this n out of your differentiation and then do differentiation of lambda log lambda by parts. So leaving lambda and then differentiating log lambda will give us 1, plus leaving log lambda and differentiating lambda will give us log of lambda. Fine. So this was all about the function n lambda log lambda. Now minus n lambda log alpha, it will give us minus n lambda, minus n log alpha. Then in place of alpha we will put actual estimate x bar. Now when we differentiate this term with respect to, actually we need not to differentiate it. See, when we put actual estimate of x alpha here, then x bar is cancelled with x bar, it is only minus n lambda plus lambda minus 1 will give differentiation 1, it will be summation I1 to n log of xi. Fine. And let us equate it with 0. Now we have put minus n log lambda minus 1 upon 2 lambda. The value of this differentiation is given already in our question. Then plus n log lambda minus n log x bar, and then minus n lambda and plus, if we have differentiated that, in this place there should be no lambda, because we have differentiated this term. Alpha is cancelled by x bar, and then lambda will give differentiation equals to 1, so it is only minus of n. Then log of, let us write summation log of xi as log of product of xi. Fine. Now we are equating this term, this equation equals to, this term equals to 0. let us take n common, then what we will get? This n is cancelled by this n, and we are having minus of log of lambda plus 1 upon 2 lambda plus log of lambda minus log of x bar, and plus this is 1 upon, there will be 1 upon n log product of xi, then we will take 1 upon n in power of product of xi. So log product of xi raised to power 1 upon n, fine, equals to 0. So again minus log lambda is cancelled by log lambda, and 1 upon 2 lambda minus of log of x bar, this product of xi raised to power 1 upon n, nothing but geometric mean, plus log of g equals to 0, which is equal to, which can be written as it can be written as 1 upon 2 lambda plus log of g upon x bar equals to 0, or we can write 1 upon 2 lambda equals to log of g upon x bar upon g. So it will give us 1 upon lambda equals to 2 log x bar upon g, or finally your lambda equals to 1 upon 2, 2 inverse equals to 1 upon 2 log of 1 upon log of x bar upon g. So your answer will be 1 upon 2 log x bar upon g. So MLE for alpha is equals to x bar, and MLE for lambda will be 1 upon 2 log x bar upon g. Now question number 11 says let x1, x2, xn be a random sample from normal mu theta where theta is unknown. Then t is sufficient but not complete. So देखो हम इसको कैसे करेंगे. If you write likelihood for this function, likelihood for this PDF, then what it will be? L equals to 1 upon theta root of theta raised to power n 2 pi raised to power n by 2 e raised to power minus of half xi minus mu. Here